Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people.
You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist.
Produced by a nuclear exchange would be carried by wind and water and soil and seed to the far corners of the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We're not saying that planet Earth is coming to an end. We're saying that planet Earth is about to be refurbished, spaded under, and have another chance to serve as a garden for another civilization.
Most of the people in here are just your reflections. They're your mistakes.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
1 million of the planet's 8 million species are threatened.
You are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence ought to be a habit, not an act.
Your lives and the credibility of the United Nations is at stake.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
The reason this is such an interesting time is not only because we're on the threshold of the end of this civilization.
They're trying to take you out with bullshit.
The experience of the past 2 years has proven beyond doubt that no nation can appease the Nazis.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
In the language of the U.S. Department of Defense, these are unidentified aerial phenomena.
Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
There is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
This is the Garden of Doom.
Welcome everyone into Garden of Doom, and this episode we are welcoming in Yvonne Garcia Zaher, and she is an author and a playwright. She's coming to us from, I think, California, right?
Correct.
Great. I got that one right so far. Excellent. Good me. She wrote a book that she sent to me called the Annubis Chronicles, Book 1, The Council. Obviously, there's going to be future books if I have book 1. And by the way, I didn't even notice until today that you wrote a lovely foreword to me. It was, basically personalized and autographed, and also that the bookmark was authentic from Egypt. So I thank you for that. I usually just skip right to where the content is going to be. And I read the book this week, so I'm very familiar with it. Have a bunch of questions for you. But before we get into all that, first of all, hi, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm doing just great. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got into this adventure of not just writing books. I know that you also are a playwright and you've had a few plays published. We were talking about the Boyle Heights in pre-production. I'm not even going to tell the audience why I'm particularly interested in Boyle Heights unless we get there naturally. But some people who are listening, it's one of those if you know kind of things, and some of the audience does. Anyway, so yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started, and this is relevant because it's relevant to the book. I started a spiritual journey. I was raised very Catholic, and there was a tragedy in my family, and I started questioning God, and that's really something big in my culture. And especially at the time in the 70s, there was no internet, there was nothing. So all the studies, all the research I had to do literally at a library. Mm-hmm. So I was very angry at God. So I went on the spiritual journey. Okay. That being said, I realized at that point in life that the key to everything was meditation. But because I didn't really know how to meditate and thought that I couldn't, because in all the books I read, it was you have to clear your mind, and I couldn't do it. So fast forward like 30, 40 years, I would meditate off and on, but I never really thought I was good at it. And I just thought I wasn't doing right. Well, I had something wrong with me since I was like 12. And we really didn't take care of it. I chose not to take care of it. So I was told that in my 50s, I would probably start to have mobility problems and other problems. And that's exactly what happened. I had a really good, thriving business. I didn't write, but I became disabled, and I couldn't walk a lot, and I was always in pain. Again, fast forward, instead, I felt sorry for myself for like a year, and then I started writing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also started meditating. I decided I'm going to meditate no matter what. So that's the way it went. I started meditating, and through meditation, I was guided to write. Well, I was supposed to originally. I have a whole manuscript written about meditation and why everybody should meditate. I believe with my heart and soul that meditation is the key to unlocking anything in the universe. And during meditation, I get these like messages, and it was write a book. I started writing my meditation book, but right when I was finished, like 95%, I got this message to stop what you're doing and write something fun. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, write something fun. Okay, I've always liked supernatural stories. I'm going to write a plain, sexy werewolf book. I started to write that, and it turned into what it turned into.
Yeah, if someone asked me to describe your book, and nobody has, because obviously no one's heard me talk about it except for my wife, stepson, and now you. But I would say, if you took a little bit of True Blood, a little bit of Neil Gaiman's American Gods, and maybe a little bit of like the Eternals, the movie, and tossed it into like I guess a snow globe that you would buy in Giza, maybe this is something like what you would come out with. I don't know if you want to use that, but you're welcome to it, or you could replace the Eternals with something else, like the something like the Justice League, but more of a intergalactic council kind of thing. So you're shaking your head, but yeah, it's definitely more than a werewolf story. I mean, obviously the title is the Annubis Chronicles. So Anubis, obviously, for those who don't know, I'm sure most listeners of the show, that's an Egyptian god. Anubis is the god of the dead, but not like a Satan figure, more of a just figure, and a presider. We have had shows on the Egyptian mythology here, so if you want to hear more about that, check out those shows. The afterworld is many different things in many different mythologies, and the Egyptian and sort of the Babylonian as both being very administrative and organized states for a very long time. Their underworld is more administrative and organized with many layers of bureaucracy, and I think that other mythologies sort of took from it, but they didn't get the heart of that kind of organization and bureaucracy in their story. So while you might have a ferryman and a guard, it's not quite the same thing. Anyway, so like that Seven Gates kind of stuff. Anyway, though if people watch the show Moon Knight, you might have gotten a little bit of it, but I don't recommend anyone watch the show Moon Knight. It wasn't so good. Though some of the visuals were stunning. All right, enough about me. So that description obviously made you chuckle. Is that because you disagree? Is it because you're not familiar with those works? Is it because you are familiar with those works? And absolutely not.
Well, it's all of the above. I am familiar. I haven't watched all of them, but I am familiar with them. The thing with this novel was I never intended it to be about Anubis at all, or Egyptian mythology. When I started writing it, I don't know how I saw a picture of Anubis, and for some reason it caught my interest, and I started to research it. And everybody thinks he's a dog, a jackal. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's actually an ancient Egyptian black wolf.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, I haven't read a werewolf book that incorporated ancient Egyptian wolves. So then I went from there, and then because I've been to Egypt several times, and from there I thought, there's this city, and it's over there by the Valley of the Kings, and it's called Acropolis, and literal translation is Valley of the Wolves. So it just sparked my imagination, I thought, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to incorporate ancient Egyptian wolves, and I'm going to incorporate Anubis. And I started writing it from there, and it just, like I said, the strange thing about this book, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but I don't remember writing it.
Okay.
I really don't. You know, I wrote it, and then I really sat down and just wrote. I didn't do your natural or how could I say, customary way to write a book. You do a draft, you do this, you do that. No, I just sat down and I wrote it. When I was getting it edited and we were going over it, I was like, really? I wrote that?
well, I hope that when you get around to writing the sequel or sequels, that either you find yourself in that same field again, or you do remember. Otherwise, you might write an entirely different book. Though who knows? That could be interesting too. So the reason I threw those three stories together, the three products, you know. True Blood was a story about a small town and basically, you know, in a smaller part of the world, though Lafayette, Louisiana came into, which is a mid-sized city, where there's a whole lot of supernatural creatures living amongst people. Now, in that show, what sort of lost me is that everybody was a supernatural person. In your book, I don't get the feeling that most of the population is supernatural, but of course it focuses mostly on supernatural. We don't really have a lot of human characters per se. Couple detectives, a couple deceased bodies, and you know, maybe some passerby or a trucker, you know, that kind of thing. But the greater world doesn't seem to be so enmeshed in it. You know, even there's a pack of wolves that runs Las Vegas, or at least part of Las Vegas, which there's a metaphor in there somewhere. In the Eternals, you sort of had these super beings, you know, sent by a super set of beings, you know, almost like, you know, the Watchers story, you know, or some sort of, you know, gods from above but to act as, you know, and intervene and you know, watch humans. Though in this version, they're more like sort of Green Lanterns or whatever. They're police, but they're not police for regular humans. They don't intervene in human activity. They only intervene in supernatural versus supernatural violence, and more to the point, supernatural versus human crimes. That's their job. So it's sort of like the Eternals, they didn't get involved in anything except they were trying to fight the deviants, and I don't want to get too much into that movie, so there was that. And then American Gods was sort of like you had gods from everywhere, and there was like sort of like wars going on between them. There was sort of just behind like this curtain veil, and there's some of that going on. There's different realms. There's the dragon realm. But, you know, there's the temple, which, you know, some of these things that are out of sight for us mere mortals. Though the heart of American Gods was that in America, you have so many gods and religions have been so washed out that they're sort of losing their power, and they're losing their power to the new god technology. This is not that, but that's why I say you shake it up into a snow globe, but one in Giza, because the book basically takes place mostly in the United States, but also in Egypt, but mostly in a temple in Egypt. But, you know, I think it's probably more like a, you know, say Mount Olympus is in Greece, or, you know, or Asgard is in Scandinavia. It's not exactly Egypt. It's like you have to get to Egypt to get to this, access this other realm, and only if you're invited or brought there. So that was my little description as to why. But you borrow from a whole bunch of mythologies. There's gods. There's a Aztec goddess. There's a Tengu from Japan, which I'm not sure what a Tengu is. So I'm gonna stop trying to describe your book, and I'm gonna let you try to describe it from this point.
Okay, so there is about a lot of gods, because I think that in Origins, what will probably happen is it's going to tie it all together, because I think they're basically almost the same gods, but in different faces, in different cultures, so that those people understand, basically. And again, like I say, the temple in Egypt can only be accessed through magic, and it's, well, in my mind, it's like very magnificently and beautiful. Yeah, you got it pretty right, Jeff. So,
well, I did read the book.
yeah. I mean, did you find it hard to follow?
No. I mean, no, I didn't find it hard to follow. Which I mean, I don't think that you intended to make it hard to follow. So no, it was easy to follow.
I'm not a frilly writer either. I don't use a lot of frill, and that's mostly because I don't like to read a lot of frill. I kind of get to the point, and I don't really use a lot of description. So I would imagine a lot of people don't like that. But then I've had many people tell me that they like it because it was an easy read.
Yeah, it is an easy read, and a lot of things that probably take longer to develop in other types of stories is the shortcut is, you know, that certain of these species, certain of these types of beings have soulmates, and so when they meet their soulmates, it's like, you know, well, that's love at first sight. But it's real, it's physical, it's palpable. It's like they can tell just from sense and looking in each other's eyes that it's over. It's not like, you know, how, you know, people here like regular folks say, I met my soulmate, and they're married 57 years. I mean, they just say this is like an actual binding of the souls. I'm not saying those aren't. I'm just saying that a lot of things that take, you know, a whole, you know, When Harry Met Sally 2.5-hour movie story, this is instantaneous. So, you know, it can cut through a lot of that. But some of my questions about, you know, all right, so the dark elves to me are extremely curious because dark elves can mean a few things. I mean, you could just, you know, have in, you know, certain stories, dark elves are just the evil versions of elves. There's the light elves and the dark elves. In Norse mythology, there's dark elves, but they're often synonymous with the dwarves. I didn't get the feeling that this was the Norse version of the dark elves, but I could be wrong on that.
So I already finished a companion novel to that, which is the story of Victoria Saint Germain, about the Countess.
Sure.
It's her backstory, and it's supposed to be a little bit smaller, but it's not that small. I thought it was going to be smaller, but it's not. And in that, the reason for that is to explain, because she's really a main character. She seemed like a side character, but in Origins, she's going to be a main character. So I tell her backstory, and in that book, it really explains the elves. So I don't think I'm necessarily giving too much away if I explain the elves, what they came out to be. And I say that because I don't really know until I'm writing. My friends don't believe me, but it's the truth. I don't know what's going to happen.
Authors say that all the time. So for your friends who don't believe you, that's pretty common in authors, that they say the book starts writing itself at a point.
Right. So what happened is there are two types of elves. There are elves of the light and elves of the dark. The elves of the light, they control and they have dominion over the top of their land, the world. The water, the plants, the sun, everything. They're on the top. The dark elves, their domain is on the bottom, and they control all the minerals, all the jewels, all the gems, and they live underground.
Mm-hmm. So it is a little Norse, but it's a little bit more Tolkien. It's you had the forest elves and the other elves like Rivendell, and I can't remember the land in the forest, but you also had, I can't remember if the orcs or the goblins were the version of the dark elves in Tolkien, but one of those.
Well, they had dwarves, but they weren't elves.
Right.
I don't think in Tolkien he had different kind of elves. They were all elves. Really.
No, they were like I think the goblins are elves that live underground. They like sort of fell. Yeah, it's true there were dwarves, but in Norse, it's. I mean, people just disagree in Norse too, and they probably disagree because it's probably different in what's now Sweden versus what's now Iceland or whatever. But some people say that the dark elves were the dwarves. Anyway, it's not important what's in Norse or Tolkien. I'm just trying to give people a point of comparison. It seems like the Tolkien version lends itself more to yours, but yours is yours. Your version is yours, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to fit in either of those paradigms.
And in the book, in the Victoria book, it kind of explains that some elves, mostly the elves live in peace, and they have to depend on each other, so they don't really have war between each other. But what happened is some elves because they're star travelers. Some come into the other realms, and they enjoy the humans that idolize them because they have special powers. And those elves wanted to come to the Earth realm to position themselves as kings and queens and be, how do you say it?
Well, the leaders of the world. I mean,
worship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
worship. And they were jealous of the gods
mm-hmm.
because gods were worshipped. They wanted to be as good as gods and be worshipped. And so that's how the monarchy was here.
Right. Well,
I mean, I know some people might get offended, but that's why the monarchy they only intermarry because they're all evil elves and they want to keep the bloodline strong.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of beliefs out there that believes that's true. Not that they're necessarily dark elves, but a lot of people believe that that's what, when the fallen angels, mated with the daughters of Adam, or the Anunnaki, created humans, that those bloodlines that have some sort of divine or superhuman, Atlanteans, whatever, any term you want to put on it, that they became the kings and queens and are, depending on who you believe, they're part of those, 10 or 13 families, or the cabal, or the star chamber, or whatever, that, sort of, the hand that guides everything, whether we know it or not. And so that sort of fit into the dark elves. But it's funny because, you're talking about Victoria Saint Germain, and, obviously most of the folks listening to the show haven't read the book yet. She's not a dark elf. She's a vampire. And she's a fairly extraordinary vampire. So we have vampires, we have werewolves, but we only meet 2 vampires. 2 others are alluded to as the 3 originals. It does turn out that Count Glorioso is in fact the oldest vampire. I only know that because I read your list of characters at the end, which said that. Otherwise, it's sort of unclear in the book whether he's the first or just one of the first 3. Either way, he is the creator, the original vampire. So he is the master of all. But Victoria, in their little interaction, seems to think that she's a match for him, but there's lots of characters who think they're a match for somebody else, and turns out they're not. So I guess we don't know, is she or isn't she? We don't find out in this book. You'll have to read this book and other books to find that out. But she is a woman of substantial, I guess woman vampire. She's a female vampire of substantial power. Very much.
She has a lot of conviction, and in her story, you see what her real motives are.
Right.
And I love her. She's my favorite character, really.
Well, she seems like she's almost like your anti-hero. She in the description of characters and through the story, she's sort of a vigilante. Like she's sort of like the Punisher in Marvel Comics, the Wolverine, a Batman that kills, sort of your protector in the dark, but brutal. She's like, more Elektra than Superwoman.
And she's not part of the council. That's what makes her also different.
Right. Well, she didn't even know the council existed until, probably halfway or 2/3 through the book. So she's been doing this stuff on her own. And just so that we know this stuff, the thing that ties everyone together in this story is that there's a pack of wolves. Apparently wolves are having trouble procreating. And so there's a pack of wolves, or maybe more than one, that are trying to find human women to mate with to create more wolves. And when they fail, they kill those women, and in brutal ways. So Victoria
actually, Jeff, real quick, No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is they're trying to turn them into werewolves. They're trying to turn humans into werewolves, and they don't survive the transformation. When they're turning, all their bones break.
Oh, that's okay. So they weren't shattering that makes a lot more sense. Yes. Okay. But I thought the purpose, and they were turning them so that they could mate with them and increase the population. Right. Okay. So, and some of these wolves, they just leave the dead bodies out in the desert, and eventually they're being found by law enforcement. That was one of the opening scenes. But Victoria has known about this much longer. It's not just limited to this desert pack or packs. And I'm not sure how many of the werewolf packs agree with this, but it seems to be a problem for all of the werewolves. And so in this way, it is very much a werewolf story, but a werewolf story plus.
Yeah.
So Victoria, she's your favorite character. And how did she find out about these efforts, the failed transformations?
Again, this is in her book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even mention it in the Annubis book because I didn't know I didn't know her backstory myself, kind of. She has a seer that she's had with her for centuries. And he goes into a trance and he sends her different places to either save people or stop evil people. She kills anybody. And that's why the council has a problem with her. She'll kill humans. She'll kill supernaturals. Whoever she sees that is killing innocents, women and children, because of what happened to her. So she takes it very personal. And that's how she finds, and he sees them and he doesn't see them clearly. And so what he has seen is it's happening all over the country. Again, that's what Origins is going to be about. It's really happening all over the country. And what it is, it's this group of people who are turning humans, because female werewolves are being less and less born. So they're turning humans into werewolves. Some of them make it, and most of them don't. But some of them do. And if they make it, then they sell them on the black market to the werewolf packs, so that they could, mate with their warriors and have more werewolf babies.
That's got to be the dark web there. We also encounter here gods from different places. So we have I'm gonna botch the pronunciation, but it's Waiteka.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's her. You to pronounce it. You just confused me by you pronounce it
Huitaka. And she's Aztec, and she talks to crows, or the crows talk to her. Are they the only birds that talk to her?
Yes, so far that I know, yes. They're the only birds, and that's how they get a lot of their information. And she's actually the mirror goddess to Freya.
Okay.
Of the
Norse.
Yeah, the Norse.
Yeah. There is a Freya though in the book, isn't it?
Yeah, but she's not a goddess. She that was just her name. She's one of the elves. She's the star traveler that is able to finally open the portal.
Okay, so but she's not the Norse Freya. It's just her name. Okay, got it. So I don't want to get straight to the Star Traveler or the Being of Light, but I have questions about the Being Light, of course.
That's what I'm telling you. I did not start out to have that in there, but the same thing happened with my meditation book that I was writing. It started out as a meditation book and ended up as a book about energy. And so did this.
Well, then we will go to the Being of Light, because they noted that the Being of Light, no Being of Light has been born for 2,000 years. Now, you can't talk about 2,000 years on the Being of Light now without thinking about a certain someone. So was the last Being of Light that certain somewhere that might be known as Yeshua Bar Joseph, Jesus Cristo?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right.
I put a little tiny Easter egg. If you notice, there's one part where I think it was Annubis that's talking to Asim and telling him, they do it all the time. That they do not know what they're doing when they kill the Being of Light.
Right. They know not what they do. Now, I got the impression that they knew they were killing the Being of Light, but they didn't know the consequences of it.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people don't really get that a Being of Light is a Being of Light.
Right.
A lot of times people don't get it. But this one is quite different. Did you catch what this one is?
Well, I mean,
could be only in my own mind.
Well, I mean, I know that, it went into the truck as a woman, came out as a man, and it could shift. But beyond that, I'm not sure. Maybe I did. I just don't know what you're alluding to. And, well, you tell me, and I'll tell you if I caught it or not.
So this trucker, which I don't go too much into his backstory or anything, but he had a hard life. His parents were drug addicts, and he's had to pull himself out on his own. And it's been a hard life. He doesn't have a lot of confidence. He's a trucker. And what she whispers into his ear is she lets him know what he is and who he is. Like right now, I mean, this is just my opinion again. This is why I asked, how far do we go? It is my opinion that in this age, this time in our world history, that we're having a battle between light and darkness, and there are bearers of light, and what we need to realize as a being of light is who and what we really are. And it takes us years and years and years of meditating and this and that to realize we are divine. And she whispers in his ear, and in 1 second he understands.
Yeah, I noticed that he mentioned that once she left, he realized that his hair and eyes were the same color as hers. And I didn't get the impression that was the case before, that maybe there was a physical transformation or just a mental transformation is how he looked upon himself. But either way, that was interesting because her, regular people don't have hair and eyes the color of honey. I mean, you might have hair the color of honey, but not eyes also. So I'm thinking that's how he viewed himself after she left the truck. Of course, when she left the truck, she was then a he. And
for the next person that she encountered, because this being of light reflects the person that they're with.
Right.
And once she whispers the words into their ear, they understand how divine they are and that they have the ability to do anything. So in essence, in origins, what I perceive happening is that humans have just as much power as the supernatural. They just don't realize it.
Well, that's going to make things... I might make the council a little bit obsolete at some point if humans can, can stand toe to toe with the supernatural. Though I mean,
well, I don't think toe to toe, but
I do get the feeling though that just because of the scope of the numbers of humans, that there's a reason why the supernatural stay sort of hidden. That it's hard to battle numbers, especially with all the weapons. I mean, but it's never discussed. It's never discussed about the military prowess or anything, except for the fact that a key part of this is that in Hiroshima, 8 of the immortals got killed in a bomb. Now, so on the council, Annubis is the only full god that sits upon the council, and Annubis does not go out into the world and like his sort of Justice League. They are mostly descendants. So there's a bunch of demigods, but they're not all demigods. There are some that are descendants of Annubis. There are others that just say descendant. So descendant of who?
Well, different ones from different places. When the council was created, they wanted to get as many species as they could in the council. So they searched for those that were worthy. Mm-hmm. And they asked, like the Tengu god, mm-hmm. That's a demon. That's a Japanese demon, and he dies all the time and comes back, but he remembers who he is. Whereas most people, when they are reincarnated, don't remember their mm-hmm. previous life. He does. Then you have a phoenix. She's from Africa, and they're not necessarily descendants. They were just found worthy. So they were given the ring that made them immortal. Because, well, a phoenix is also immortal because it dies and comes back. But some of the other ones are not, like the werewolves and so. But with the ring, you can't be killed. The dragons can't be killed when they have the ring. So You know, dragons kind of stay in their own business. Dragons don't like to come into our realm.
Right, which is sort of similar to the Chinese mythology of the dragons, that they sort of stay in their other realm. And I very much get the feeling that these are dragons more towards sort of Eastern cultures than sort of like Smaug from The Hobbit.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know that there was mythology on dragons in China.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, there is a lot of it. So, good on you for.
I didn't know that they had a realm. Do they have a realm in China?
Yes, I believe they do, but I think all the gods have a realm, and like the dragons are sort of like the ultimate primordial. I think there's 4 dragons, which represent the 4 cardinal points. But it's interesting because in Chinese there's 5 elements, not 4. Usually it's 4 cardinal points, 4 elements. The whole thing.
Well, there's actually 6. Like I said, I don't like to do a lot of frill. Because there's above and below, if you really want to call the element. I mean, the directions.
Oh, well, that's...
There's above, below, and within, actually.
Well, there you go. Now, you're getting meta. I think while all religions are meta, I think that most of them were trying to do a creation story about, where people were standing, and the other. But you're right. I mean, obviously you're right there. They all have a above. They all have a below. So as above, as below, and of course you've got the interior. So there's the dragons. They operate in their own realm. They have their own politics, as we learn, as well. So that could be a spin-off as well. Everyone has their own internal politics. The werewolves do, the vampires do. I want to know how Glorioso got on the council, because while Glorioso is the creator of vampire,
no, not Glorioso. You're talking about what's his name? It starts with a V. Valerius.
Valerius, but is it okay? Valerius. His last name's not Glorioso. There's not. I'm just making that up.
I can't remember what it was.
Okay. But definitely Valerius. I know he's a creature of great power, but he also doesn't seem like he's a creature of great benevolence. So I'm wondering how he made his way onto the council.
I'm not sure yet, but he is going to be a lot also in Origins.
Okay.
He is going to be, because he's obsessed. He became obsessed with her because he doesn't recognize her as his bloodline, and which she's not. But that's going to come out, and that's why he's fascinated with her.
Right. Well, also you described that she's like ravishingly hot. So I mean,
yeah.
Then again, he's a vampire. So I mean, that's probably not too hard to come by.
Yeah, in vampires, they live so long, they do so many things, they get bored. So when something new comes along, they want it.
Okay. All right, Glorioso.
They're very sexual beings, vampires. And that's mostly in any book that writes about vampires.
Lately, anyway, the last couple 100 years. That's for sure. The gods. So first of all, I know the actress Zendaya, but I'm out of touch, so I only knew who she was like 3 years after everybody else did. And I knew the word meant something, but I didn't know it was like an African phoenix, which of course in Africa they just call a phoenix.
That's just her name.
Okay. So, is there a different word for phoenix in Africa? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of words. There's lots of different languages, hundreds.
You know what? That's a very good question. I didn't even look it up.
Okay. Did you name her after the actress, or were you writing this before that?
No, I don't know why I named her that.
Okay, interesting. She's sort of famous. Maybe you should get her to read the book.
You just said it right now. I didn't realize that it was. You're right. I know that actress, but I didn't even make the correlation.
Yeah. General rule is if I know the name of an actor or actress, they're either really famous or they've just been in one of my niche little things that I would like. But generally means they're really famous because, like I said, I'm at least 2 to 3 years behind pop culture, if not 2 to 3 decades behind. So, but
it's weird because I do know her because my granddaughter's 14 and she likes her. She's told me about her, but I still didn't put the connection. But I want to tell you something weird right now, unless you have another question.
No, go ahead.
About another character's name. These names, I just wrote them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the maker of Victoria is the Count Saint Germain.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
You know, I don't know why I picked that name. I picked that name. I know I must have heard it somewhere.
Sure.
And I picked it. Well, a friend of mine, she saw on the internet that I had wrote this book, and she bought it. And she called me up, and I knew her probably 30 or 35 years ago, and I hadn't seen her for a long time. But we used to do work together. We used to do light work together. And she tells me, Yvonne, she says, why did you put the Ascended Master Saint Germain in your book? I said, I don't know.
Yet.
She goes, what do you mean you don't know? And I said, I forgot that he was Ascended Master. That name just popped up when I was writing, and I put it. And I said, okay, well, then he was meant to be in the book.
Well, maybe he'll be in one of the other books. Maybe he'll make his presence known.
In the Victoria book a lot.
Well, there you go.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the name was an accident. I mean, the Count Saint Germain is probably, after Dracula, the most famous named vampire in literature. I mean, you could argue that there's ones in pop culture have become, Blade or whatever, have become more popular or more well known. But that's a different thing altogether, I suppose. Though Victoria reminds me a little bit of Blade, I gotta say. And Blade is one of my favorite movies. All right, there were also demons, and so we had one gentleman who was the leader of 33 legions of demons, and I was really hoping that we'd get some legions of demons involved, but they weren't. I have a feeling they might need to be called upon at some point. I was hoping we were going to get some demon on werewolf violence, but we really didn't get much of that. What are these 33 legions of demons? Does this come from a part of the Bible? Did it come from your head? I mean, I know 33 is a number that repeats itself quite a bit.
It does come from, I don't know if it's the Bible, because when I started writing about the demon, I didn't have a name for him. So I looked up demon names, and his name came up. Zagan came up, and he is listed as the leader of 33 Legion of Demons.
What mythology or what part of the world is he listed? Because, I mean, there's demons in every culture. So is he, like I remember when I saw A24's Hereditary, the demon there was Payman. I looked him up, and that was, I think, the Sumerian or a Babylonian demon. So where is Zagan from?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't remember because when I'm writing, I just look up names, and I'll read something really quick, and I'll say I like that name. That name fits.
Okay.
I don't remember, but now that you're asking me that question, I probably should know.
Well, I don't know. It could help with other things. It could lead to other sparks depending on where. But the 33 legions are all over the world, or the other. I mean, where are the demons? Are they
in the world?
Okay, so what is in your bookscape? What is the general proportion of humans to supernaturals to gods?
Well, in my universe, the gods have their own realm, and they used to come down to the earth realm because the supernaturals like earth humans because they're easily I wouldn't manipulated, and also they're easily how can I say it? Impressed with anything magical. And the gods they get their power from worship. So they would come down and do little things so that the humans would worship them, like I said. And that's what made the elves decide, well, if the gods in that realm can be worshipped, why can't we be worshipped? And there became the battle. The dragons didn't want any of it, so they just stayed in their realm. So there's a lot of gods, and they manifest in different societies, in different cultures, so that the people will worship them. And there's, I don't know, probably hundreds of them.
Well,
and as far as supernaturals in the earth realm, there's thousands. But again, they're unknown. They're hidden.
Right.
People don't know who they are. Most people.
Right. And so one thing we learned about the immortals is even in nuclear blast, their bodies will die, but their spirits do not, which, by the way, ties into lots of mythos, including some interpretations of what happened after the flood. The giants, the abominations that God was so angry at, that while many of them, if not all, were killed off, their spirits, their souls did not. Some were trapped somewhere, some got around, and there's entire schools of thought on that. Which,
well, yeah, I was going to say, really, again, I can go really off on energy.
Go off on energy.
Everything is energy. Everything. Energy in physics cannot be destroyed. If you read about physics, energy cannot be destroyed. Our spirit is energy.
Right, it gets redistributed.
It can be, it can be used some way, but it cannot be destroyed. So reincarnation, to me, is a very obvious answer as to where our soul goes. It just keeps going wherever it seems to need to go. And again, energy is always seeking perfection as the divine, because we are the divine. And it's our energy in a human body is us manifesting to learn, to understand what we would do in a human body.
Right.
It's just...
So this one is on me because, when you have a podcast and you're talking to a lot of authors, you have to read a lot of books. So you have to read them quickly. But I did notice that there were a lot of names that probably would be considered Middle Eastern, North African. And I'm wondering, is that because it was sort of Egyptian centric, even though the gods were spread out all over and the supernatural was spread out all over? Or is it that you were trying to say that, sort of that Fertile Crescent zone, that is where the original gods were, the most powerful gods were, but they were even names of werewolves and things like Sameha and I'm probably going to botch some of the names, but Sama,
Darius.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, those were Egyptian because those were descendants of the original Annubis wolf. But no, I was not trying to say that they were the original or the most powerful, just that they were the ones who decided to make the council.
Okay. So there could literally be hundreds or dozens, it doesn't matter the number of other gods.
In fact, I was even wondering if in Origins there's going to come up a rival God center that is opposed to it.
Right, because we haven't even met a Zeus type or Hercules or a Thor type.
Some of the Aztec gods are real vicious and powerful.
Right.
You want to know why I didn't write Aztecs? I'll tell you the truth.
Sure.
So they're very hard to pronounce. Like there's a few words in the book that are I can't even say the name. Nato. That's the Aztec language.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to pronounce.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Did you see those words?
Yeah,
those are two words.
Yeah.
Where Witaka calls the crows, and she says that phrase. That's a true phrase. That's a real phrase, and it's very hard to pronounce. So if I wanted to read this book, I'd have to try to pronounce those words, and that's kind of silly that I'm the author and I can't even pronounce them. I'm actually going to look for somebody who is an expert in that language so they can tell me how to pronounce it.
Right, and then you can do phonetics. But I have a secret. I read the book Aztec, the whole thing, like 800 pages. Loved it. But early on, I realized I wasn't going to be able to pronounce the name, so I just stopped trying. I would just, if the city was Tenochtitlan or whatever, I would just did T. That's it. If there was I just changed the characters of places' names into one syllable and whatever, and that's how I went through with it. I didn't get stumbled on trying to pronounce it the same way consistently in my head. That was my little trick. I don't know if that works for an author or not, as it's probably more easy for a reader to do that. All right, so
I really wanted to use more words like that, but I just held back.
Well, unfortunately, the author of those Aztec books, who you could have reached out to, is dead. So you can't. Well, maybe you can. I mean, it depends on your particular talents. Maybe you can.
That is true.
But actually, we've had people on my show, and you could look through the catalog, and you could probably reach out to a couple of them, and I'm sure they would respond to you. They could help you with that. Robert Beto, for one, but also, oh my God, I can't remember his name. But I had on Twitter, it's 400 Drums, and he definitely could. He's actually studied with shamans and stuff. Anyway, okay, the Star Travelers. All right, so one of the Star Travelers found their way to the Earth realm. They emerged in the portal of Stonehenge, which, I don't know how or why you picked Stonehenge, though I know, I mean, it seems, sort of an obvious choice. But is that because the Star Traveler has some sort of Celtic roots, or is it just, you picked the world's most famous, portal that everyone recognizes?
Well, I did pick the portal because everybody will recognize it, but it's also my belief that I don't think that like Stonehenge, the pyramids in Giza, the pyramids in Chichen Itza, the pyramids in Indonesia are culture. I think that were taught by something else. So I would say people think it's Celtic, but is it just Celtic? I don't know. Maybe it is a portal. I don't
know. There are circles all over the place. I mean, they're finding, stone and other circles, in Turkey right now, and that's certainly not Celtic necessarily.
Tepe, Guglia.
There's Göbekli Tepe, but there's another one that's Karahan Tepe, and if they keep digging, completely, but they'll probably find more if they keep looking. Then they'll probably keep getting earlier and earlier. And there's circles underwater. There's one in Lake Michigan. There's one in the either Sea of Galilee or the Dead Sea in Israel. There's underwater, and there's probably ones all over the place that we've only mapped 5% of the ocean floor.
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody says. I know people get mad at me when I say this. I don't care what anybody says. People did not do that without some kind of help. Any of those things, like the pyramids and stuff. Really?
Well, that fits in with both the Eric von Daniken and the Graham Hancock theory, though. Eric von Daniken's is, aliens. Graham Hancock is human advanced cultures who have since died out or intermingled with us. Well, either way, and any way you look at it, it's some prior civilization with greater technology where their origins were, from the stars or just from an earlier epoch in Earth. That's sort of where they differ. But
we can't even do it today if we wanted to. So how are you telling me that primitive man did it?
It depends what you're trying to build, but I'm pretty sure we could. I mean, actually, I had an architect on the show, and he's like, "Sure, we could, but why would we? I mean, it's not efficient, and it's not what we want to build." So anyway, I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. I don't know any of these things, but some of the things we build are, pretty baffling as, the way I see it. But I know we built a pyramid because I saw the Louvre and I've seen the Luxor Hotel. I wouldn't stay in the Luxor Hotel, but I've seen it. But anyway, so the Star Traveler. So you mentioned here that the Star Travelers are elves.
No, there's other Star Travelers also, not just elves.
Okay, I didn't think. I thought so. So who are the other Star Travelers?
We don't know yet.
Do you know yet? Maybe.
Well, no, yes. Some of the council members were all most of them were star travelers. But when the realms closed, they closed. Nobody could open them.
So when you say star are they coming from other realms, or are they coming from actually other star systems?
No, they're from their realm or our realm or the dragon realm or the god realm, whatever. It's a certain type of individual that is born with a mark of a star traveler, and they have the ability to open the portals to go to different realms.
Right. One of them had a birthmark of a particular constellation. The name escapes me. Right. Is that a real constellation?
Yes.
What's the constellation?
Iridius, I think it was. I can't remember. I can remember everything. No.
Okay.
I think it was Iridius, yeah.
Okay. Where is Iridius? Which constellation? I mean, where would that be in the sky? I mean, I know it's not one of the 12 in the standard zodiac.
It's a small constellation, and that was the whole point, that it's one that you have to really know where it's at or be drawn to it to see it. And that's why I picked that one.
What is the shape or the image that would be associated with it?
There isn't one. It's not like one of like the Milky Way or one of the zodiac signs. It's not like that.
Okay, so it's not like Cancer where you have a crab, or Scorpio where you have a scorpion. Okay, gotcha. And there's constellations within constellations. I mean, the Pleiades are within Taurus. Just so I mean, it's the sky's a very, very big place. Okay, and so that star traveler didn't come from Iridius; they just came from a different realm.
Yes.
But
again, I forget. You don't know this because it's not in that book. In the other book, it explains that once the portals closed, there stopped being children born with the mark of a star traveler, and Freya was born with the mark of a star of a traveler. So they hid it because they were afraid that they would take her and try to, make her, keep her, like, locked away until she could open the portal.
Well, the underlying theme seems to be the werewolves are having trouble, finding women to have to read. The star travelers, less and less are being born. The being of light, there hasn't been one born in 2,000 years. The gods haven't made it and created demigods in 2,000 years yet. Asim and Omari, though not in the body of Omari, managed to have one. So things are getting rarer and rarer. And the fifth prophecy is the end of supernaturals. Now, what that means for gods is unknown, and what that means for humans is unknown, at least at the end of this book. But it's sort of like the age of magic and mythology and gods and everything that's ultra is ending, which is sort of a theme that's been in other books as well. And I imagine at some point that there's going to be humans that are aware of this and are all for that, because they don't want that, or at least maybe the Dark Elves want it, but the Dark Elves are supernatural, so they'd be sort of signing their own death warrant, but maybe they're not their descendants. I don't know. But is that sort of the theme? Is like sort of an age of magic is ending and an age of man is coming?
Well, I think it's more of a theme of what's going on in real life. Is that it's kind of the opposite. It's not that magic is ending. It's that humans are becoming aware of their own divinity.
Okay.
It's more of that.
So it's actually more a positive thing. Now, when the humans become aware of their divinity, does that mean that they no longer have need of the gods? And where does that leave the supernaturals that are sort of in between?
Well, the gods for sure, but the other supernaturals, it depends on what they've chosen. Have they chosen to live in light, or have they chosen to live in darkness? I don't know. Depends.
Let's talk about a little bit about Annubis.
Annubis. Yeah, I love Annubis. He's a very just god.
He's an interesting character. He has all the power in the world, but he rarely sort of wants to use it. And for a guy who seems like call Annubis a guy. Sounds a dummy. For a being of such power and making decisions, he seems very open to being persuaded. There's a lot of times where. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's persuaded or he actually kind of knows where things are going, so he kind of goes with it, or he wants to seem to figure out certain things on himself. But he was a little stumped on something. That's why he went into the Akashic records. But what did you think about that scene? I thought that was really odd.
Well, I mean, no, I didn't think. I mean, it was a little bit different in that it seemed very much like the old wizard going into the magic library, but and it was positioned as a sort of an endless library, and the papers would fall into his hands, and he would, like Matrix, like he would immediately absorb the information, and that even in that area. He didn't know how much time he was taking in there. Like, he had no idea how much time was elapsing until he got the full message. When he left, he actually had more time than he thought. He was glad about that because he wasn't sure that he could have missed the entire meeting. It didn't matter. Once he was there, like, despite being the god, he was sort of, once you check in, you can only check out after your job is done, no matter how much time it takes in other planes. And I'm not sure if the amount of time in the temple matches the amount of time on regular Earth or not, though it seemed to at least be something that if it didn't, they knew how to provide for that or take care of it so that they fit within Earth time. But yeah, it was very interesting. But there were a bunch of times where it seemed like, everyone in the council's like, Annubis is going to make this decision right now, and then someone would say, "My lord, I want to do this, and Annubis would be like, "Okay, you can have 3 days to decide." Yeah, and it took me by surprise each and every time. But I guess when he's a just God, he's supposed to listen to every argument. Or I guess the other take is what you just said when it's your book. So that's probably the right take, is that he already knew what was going to happen, and he already knew, how much time was going to be needed. So that's how he was dispensing things. The only thing he didn't know for sure is the results of the prophecy. Now, here is a problem with me and prophecies. 4 parts of the prophecy comes true. How can you avoid the 5th part of the prophecy? If prophecy of prophecy, this is the eternal question. Are the fates sealed? Did the Norns already weave their webs, or can you change it? Even Annubis doesn't seem to know that, because the whole point is to try to change the prophecy as opposed to just lean into it.
Unless you don't really understand the prophecy, because it says that all magic will cease to exist.
Well,
what does that really mean?
Well, shouldn't he then go to like an Athena or an Odin, a god of wisdom, and say, "Hey, what's up? Do you know what's happening here?"
Well, maybe that does happen in Origins.
Indeed. Okay. All right. Very good. This is probably, in this day and age, I'm not allowed to ask this, but I'm going to anyway, because you Yvonne Garcia Zaher. You don't see a lot of Garcias and Zahirs together. What's your derivation? Like, is that your parents' name? Is that a married name? And what's your backgrounds? Because all of our backgrounds plays into what we write about.
Well, my parents, my family, we have a family cemetery in Texas that goes back to the 1700s. So we're from Texas, Garcia.
But Texas when it's part of Mexico. And maybe before.
I don't have, like, even today, I don't have any relatives from Mexico. All my relatives are from Texas. So we've been in Texas for generations.
All my exes live in Texas. No, that's not true.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my background. And my husband's from Egypt.
Well, there's the Egypt tie, right? I mean, that's obviously going to be some fascination.
I was very fascinated with Egypt when I went there. But then again, I'm fascinated with history and old things. And I was fascinated with the cobble streets.
Just don't wear high heels.
No, I didn't. But, I like just how many thousands and hundreds and millions of people walk those streets. And who and when and what were they doing?
maybe Cleopatra, maybe Julius Caesar, maybe Alexander the Great.
There's a little place where people go to shop called Hana Halil, and it's the oldest shopping bazaar there, the whole country for, I think it's like thousands of years old, really, and it looks like it is. But it's just fascinating to me.
Well, hopefully the rent is the same as it was thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what else do you want to tell us about the book, or what's to come? Or is there something that like I missed in sort of my diversions into different characters?
No, I mean, you did really, really good in reminding me all the stuff that's in there. Because I've been promoting and working on the other book that I did that has nothing to do with supernatural stuff. It has to do with my heritage, my culture, and so I haven't done a lot with Annubis Chronicles yet, except for I have finished the Victoria book. I just have to have it edited, and it'll be out this year. It's the companion novel to the Annubis Chronicles. I think I have to name it the Annubis Chronicles, the Victoria Saint Germain story, or Countess Victoria, because in order for people to connect the two, and you could read that one first and then read Annubis Chronicles, or you could read Annubis Chronicles first, the council, and then read her story.
Well, I'll give you a little secret. If you're trying to get a trademark and you have two books that are in the same family, but one of the strange things about trademark law is it doesn't count for books. It counts for everything else until you have more than one book. So what you could do, if you wanted to, is you could call it Victoria Saint Germain, but then call it an Annubis Chronicles novel.
So I could do it the opposite way and it will still come up.
Absolutely. Sure. And you could then apply for the trademark for the Annubis Chronicles. Now, I don't know if you can get the trademark for the Annubis Chronicles or not, but probably. I mean, anyway, copyrights are still the prime protection for content. And in me babbling about legal stuff, I forgot what my last question was, and I actually had one, and I'm going to kick myself for this later on. When do you? So the Victoria Saint Germain book will be available after editing is done. By the way, the packaging of this book is beautiful. It's I mean, do you have?
Did you like it? I didn't know if I was that happy with it.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, it's clean. It's neat. Looks professional. No, I think you should be very happy with it. And I'm a little bit, well, as we said earlier, persnickety about things like that. When I saw you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but a lot of times you do. That's what packaging is all about. And when I saw it, I was like very impressed. I'm like, wow, somebody put some time, effort, and money into that. So that's good. So yeah, I liked it. I don't know what your other readers have thought about it, but I thought it very striking.
Well, unfortunately, readers don't really put reviews, which I really wish they would, because I truly, even if it's not a good review, I would like to know what people thought about the book.
Yeah, this is what I want to ask you. Thank you for reminding me. This is actually, where can they find it? Where can they buy the book? Is it in bookstores? Is it on Amazon? A website?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
It's on Amazon. It's on BookBaby because they're the publishers, but I don't think not one person has bought it off a BookBaby website. Everybody's bought it off of Amazon.
Yeah, that's sort of what.
Just look at the Annubis Chronicles, the Council, and they pop up.
Okay, very good. The Annubis Chronicles, the Council, book 1. There's other books to come, and there's going to be a universe of
this year.
Yeah, companion books as well. So if you're looking something that's it is easy reading. Oh, I know. Just as a warning to people, there is sex in the book. Some of the sex is involuntary, if you know what I mean. All of the sex scenes, though, are quick. They're not particularly graphic. It's more implied. And you can imagine with werewolves and vampires and demons that, that the feelings might be intense, but the author is kind enough to not take you through too. It's not 50 Shades of Grey kind of writing, though I really wouldn't know because I didn't read 50 Shades of Grey. And I tried to watch the movie and I couldn't make it through it. But I imagine that the reason that there's so many books and so many movies is because is a little graphic, and people sort of, get their kink on with that. But so warning on that, but it is passing.
I did struggle with that because, I want to write true to what is being guided to write, but I did struggle a little bit with it.
Yeah, but it is, it is mostly left to your imagination. There are some parts that aren't, but I don't know that it needs a graphic warning or anything like that, but just in case anyone is sensitive, especially in this, day and age. So I figured I wanted to put that out there. But it's not for kids, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But is it for young adults? I would let parents make that decision. Sort of consider it a little bit more than TVMA, R-rated movies, from the 80s kind of judgment of R-rated movies. Definitely not X, though. And there's violence too, and the violence doesn't generally last that long and isn't, in extreme graphics. It's more implied. You know what happened, you know what the result is, but it's not like there's a lot of time spent on the graphic nature of it, and that's sort of consistent throughout the book. So, I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you've seen Fargo or The Wire or Deadwood, you've seen worse. So anyway, with that, so Amazon is the best place to find the book. It's Yvonne Garcia Zaher. That's Zaher. And it's the Annubis Chronicles, Book 1, The Council. And there's other books to come. If you want to be found and followed anywhere else, where can people find and follow you anywhere else?
Actually, if people want to read the first, I think it's 20 chapters, because they're short chapters, you can read them on my website for free, and you put your email address, and then I can let you know when the other book comes out. And my website is just Yvonne Garcia Zaher .com.
Okay, so I've pronounced your name wrong the entire time. So there we go. Excellent. Typical.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I pronounced it wrong right now.
Okay, thank you then. All right.
The reason I do that is because too many times when people ask me to spell it, if I say Zaher, they don't spell it right, so I say Zaher.
Okay. All right. Well, good for me then. All right. But I totally understand what you're saying. Every time I say my last name, which is Lipman, people put T's in there or make it Lipton tea. I'm like, I wish I was from the Lipton tea, fortune. That'd be swell. All right. So, all right. Thank you to our guests. Check out her book. Check out the website. Check out the free samples. I mean, what's wrong with free samples? There's nothing better than free samples. Hey, is there a song in your head or in your soul or in your muse that you associate with this book that we can use as the outro?
There is, but I don't know the name of it because it's an Arabic song.
Well, if you find it on YouTube or whether, just share it and send it to me. I'll use it as the outro.
Oh, okay. I certainly will.
Okay, excellent. All right, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. When you read the book and you give her a review and rating, because she wants those reviews and ratings on Amazon, as you heard her say in her own words, I would also like reviews and ratings. And I'm sure both of us would appreciate referrals. And you will definitely hear from us again next week in the Garden of Doom.